Welcome back to Close Encounters of the Tech Kind. I'm John. We're going to have a fantastic conversation this week. Got a number of things I want to get into. Mostly facial recognition. We just heard a story about somebody who got thrown in jail for 6 months. It wasn't her, but she went into jail because facial recognition said that it was her. So we'll talk in detail about that here in a second. Mozilla and Anthropic are joining forces, figuring out all the bugs. DLSS 5 for you gamers out there, you know what that is, and the amount of horsepower it requires to run. There's good news coming from Microsoft. The Helix is coming up. They just announced it. It's going to be interesting. Speaking of interesting things, Fortnite's coming back. We're going to talk games. We're going to talk security. We're going to talk with Mike.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Mike's got a little bit of experience with games all the way back from the beginning of games.
Yeah, maybe.
Jackson grew up with, what'd you grow up with? What was your console?
I grew up on a PlayStation 2.
Wow.
Nice.
It was the good old days.
Atari 2600.
So I mentioned...
What was your console of choice when you're growing up?
I tend to go with one that a lot of people seem to discount, and that's the Genesis. Everybody else wanted a Super Nintendo. I just love the Genesis. The games were just more fun usually.
TurboGrafx 16 was the one I wanted, but could never afford. Bonk was my favorite game there.
That's also on the Super Nintendo originally.
Yep. Well, before we get into conversation, for those of you watching, we've got an interesting challenge. The YouTube algorithm has been doing something with our viewers. I just watched on our dashboard some kind of just disappear a little bit. So I got a challenge. Everybody watching this, please hit the like button. It's not that you like it. It's I want to see the likes become a higher number than the views. I've asked this a couple times before, but I would love to see 80 likes and 40 views so I can scratch my head and say, the algorithm actually has something backwards. But just by saying that, I'm sure the algorithm is going to deprioritize us. So please like, share, and subscribe because we're going to need it after that comment.
Speaking of comments, that only works leave one if you want.
Yeah, I think that only works for hobbits to have a second like or a third like, you know. So please, all the hobbits out there, please, second like, third like.
I don't want to discriminate. Hobbits and all you other Middle Earth creatures, please hit like.
Right.
All those not from Middle Earth, hit like, please. But let's get into our top story. I definitely want to talk about this. We've talked about license plate readers. We've talked about facial recognition. We've talked about AI making decisions instead of humans. And this is a great story. It's a sad story, but it's a great way to say we have abrogated our decisions to computers. Now, all of us have strong feelings on that, right? I want to take this in a unique perspective. So let me read from The Guardian here. So grandmother says she was mistakenly tied to an artificial intelligence facial recognition that accused her of being North Dakota, part of a bank fraud scheme. She spent nearly 6 months in jail after Fargo police identified her as a suspect in organized bank fraud case. According to the Southeast Dakota news outlet Inform, the woman told the outlet that she had never been in North Dakota, nor did she commit the crimes. She's a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 5 and lived most of her life in north central Tennessee. She's never been on an airplane until the authorities arrested her and flew her to North Dakota. So This goes to a concept, Jackson, that you shared a few months back. Justice versus mercy. These AI systems are designed to exact justice. Absolutely. You do something wrong, you get hit. That's the way it is. So don't do anything wrong. You won't get a citation or arrested and flown to a state you've never been to. I want to open up the conversation. If you've got a system that is exclusively justice oriented, and our legal system abrogates mercy and says, you know what? Well, the computer says it's you, so it must be you. Where are we going?
Yeah, I don't like where that's going. I feel like the best example is like driving. I feel like that's got to be probably the most common misdemeanor is a speeding ticket, right? Or you name it. Didn't fully stop at a stop sign. Boy, I hate that one. You know,
I want to ask you how many times you've had that ticket. Don't worry about it.
You know, I have avoided being pulled over. It's never happened to me.
Knock on wood.
It's because I don't commit any misdemeanors on the road, right? Thank you. Okay. No, but there may have been a time where I was going perhaps above the speed limit. I believe I was going the speed limit, but maybe I wasn't. And it was late at night. I got off a shift. I was working fast food. It was like midnight. I was in high school. I was like, oh, I just want to get home and go to bed, take a shower. And so I didn't see him. There was a cop on the other side of the road, and it was totally empty. It would have been so easy to pull me over, no problem. But all I did was flash his lights, and I was like, "Oh shoot, check my speed." Okay, yep, cool. Went home. It was great. I was like, "Well, that was nice." You know, I didn't need to ruin my day. Give me a ticket for that. Or who knows? There's so many reasons, right? Like, there's plenty of valid reasons that someone might need a speed. You know, say your wife is having a baby, you got to get her to the hospital, or for any other reason, somebody might be injured, got to get them to the hospital, and there's didn't have time to call an ambulance. So when you enact a system like this that doesn't account for the human condition at all, and just simply is pass fail, then you kind of eliminate that human factor from the justice system, and we become beholden to these computer systems.
Well, look, I like where you're going with the driving analogy, because I was thinking about this. You're driving through a section and the speed limit is posted as 45. Everybody around you is doing about 60. What do you do? Do you do 45 because that's the posted limit? I tell you, I get really, really honked at, and I get some hand signals sometimes if I do that, because I'm impeding the flow of traffic. Whereas they post the 45. Some traffic engineer has posted 45, knowing that people are going to break the speed, knowing that if they put 60 miles an hour there, people are going to go 85. So you post it low enough, knowing that there's going to be some lawbreakers, and so the actual road speed is 55 or 60. They put the human condition into the posted limit. Now, if you put a justice-oriented black or white pass-fail system, the law wasn't put that way. The posted sign wasn't intended to be the limit. It was intended to slow people down so that they would go a reasonable speed instead of 80 miles an hour. The road psychology is a fun thing. I love getting into some of that stuff where you create a rule that does more than what you want, knowing that people are going to do less than what you want to get the result that you do want. So let's fix all of that when we introduce a pass fail, or let's just leave it the way it is and have a human issue a ticket.
Yeah, and I think what's so disgusting to me about this situation with this grandmother who spent 6 months in jail is it was a human who actually ultimately went and did it. They went and arrested her, pulled her into jail, left her there for 6 months because they, going back to the original thing, right? The computer flags that, hey, there's this person in Tennessee and facial recognition matches, go arrest her. It's like they didn't take 2 seconds to even think about it, to even do any cross-referencing, to do like get a second piece of evidence. It was just, okay, cool, great. They went and grabbed her. From it seems like while she was in the middle of babysitting her grandchildren. Like, I mean, how disgusting is that? Until, months later when her attorney finally is able to, I don't know what the timeline is. Maybe he had it before because we know things move pretty slow in our justice system. But eventually, the attorney is able to show them that she has bank records showing her being in Tennessee at the time that the crime was being committed in North Dakota. How hard was it for the detectives to do that work? Why is the attorney having to do the detective work for them and then, prove her innocence in such an obvious way? Like, that is where I find it extremely disgusting that, they just trusted the system and didn't even take 2 seconds to question it.
Well, there's an assumption that when you're arrested, there's an assumption in the legal system that you've done something to deserve that. So they're going to put you in jail. They'll have an arraignment. They'll go through all those things, right? But the assumption is you did something wrong. The assumption is the detective or the police officer that does the arresting did their due diligence to get the warrant to then go get the thing. But so I don't want to say too much ill will against the police who made this decision. So forgive me for making you guys mad. Guess how she was released?
I don't know.
In North Dakota. Good
On
luck getting
Christmas
back.
Eve.
Yeah, good luck getting back to Tennessee.
No money, no phone call, nothing. Just
And
put
if
her
I
on the
remember
street.
right,
Say,
it's also she ended up losing her house because she was, couldn't make the payments, didn't have a job, I mean, there's all these things that happened to her. It's an absolute travesty of what happened to this poor lady. And getting back to what Jackson said, I think this is just you talk about making the laws and baking in the human condition. I think this is a much simpler thing. I think it's a matter that we did not feed the machine enough information. The machine didn't look for enough information. It saw a face, it recognized a face, and period, full stop, it thought, that's the end of it. That's the answer right there. The machine could have just as easily, in my mind, could have checked public records to say, who is this person really? Where does she live? What's her day-to-day routine? We all know that there's plenty of data on us out there, but I agree that the humans involved with this should have done much more follow-up. And it's a condition of that we're calling it AI. We're giving it credit for something that it is not. It is not AI. It is simply a algorithm that compiles large amounts of data, whether it's language or some other data, and is pattern matching or something to that effect to say, okay, the best pattern that matches the pattern you've given me with the highest degree of probability of matching is this one right here. And that doesn't mean that's the answer. That's not proof. It's just that pattern matches. That's all that is saying. And these humans are not understanding that there is more to it than that, and that it's still fallible. It's still got problems. There's still a lot wrong with it. Just yesterday, I in the computer, John, that we were working on talking about today. For fun, I took a picture of the motherboard of this computer to identify the components. I wanted to see what ChatGPT came up with, like identify the parts on this motherboard. I want to see how good its image recognizing was and everything. And it basically got things wrong. Like I took a picture, I asked it, and it was pretty close. Like it thought that like these ports right here are expansion ports for like a daughter board for other peripherals and things like that. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of. I guess you could see it that way. And then I sent a different picture because I thought, well, maybe the resolution, maybe I need to get in closer or something like that. Maybe it's not able to really identify it. And then it kind of had a completely different idea of what those ports were, and everything. I just thought, yeah, for ChatGPT to do this, it's not quite there yet. We'll stick to language and, giving me a summary of this 50-page document or something. But I think AI in general is only going to be as good as the data you feed it. So if all you're going to give it is just a simple prompt of, we've got a picture, a security camera footage, which we all know security camera footage is never the best. But we see this person in this picture, match it with a person, give us a name. And if that's the only prompt you give it, it's got to be somebody who reasonably was in this local area within this certain time frame with, you have to still hold its hand and guide it to make sure you get the correct outcome. And even then you still need to go back and verify it all the time. You need to verify it, and you need to just not necessarily trust it as you need to not trust it as your only source of information.
Well, here's a human condition that we've gone through the courts and decided it's a bridge too far. Lie detectors. They're not admissible in court to prove guilt.
Yeah,
We've
so many
decided
people
technology isn't good
rely
enough.
on it, though. A lot of law enforcement agencies, they trot it out as, like, this is definitive proof that you lied, when it's just your body's having a stress response, and that stress response is being recorded.
I'll tell you right now that if I were in a room hooked up to a machine with a bunch of detectives grilling me questions, I can guarantee you my body response is not going to be favorable.
Just drink a bunch of caffeine before they hook you up.
I get anxiety just thinking about being in that situation,
Just amp up your heart rate to 180 and just watch the machine take flight because the needles are flapping too hard. No, it's one of those. We've learned the lesson that technology isn't good enough, and we've got to find ways of finding a way to let mercy rise to the top. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than my heart goes out to this woman and her children who didn't have grandma for Christmas because she's in North Dakota in the middle of winter without money, without any, chance. Her attorney put her in a hotel for the night, which was awesome. But
the thing that comes to mind for this is, even though there were people involved, the people involved did not scratch their head and go, this doesn't seem right. Like they took what was given there as if it were like irrefutable evidence. Like the officer in Denver that was saying, yeah, we caught you on cameras committing a crime over here, so you're going to come with us. It's the belief that the system is infallible, and it is probably one of the most fallible systems we've created. It needs more refinement. It needs a lot more refinement. And I don't think
Needs a
that
human
refinement,
behind it.
that too, but I don't think the refinement's going to come in our lifetime.
The laws weren't written to exact justice on the entire population. It's to find those really bad actors and solve that problem. It's not to find somebody that's going 2 miles over the speed limit or somebody who was in the wrong neighborhood when somebody else committed a crime. Or you just happen to have the same color hair as the person that stole something from a porch. That guy's
I'm making a
lying. Go
connection
ahead.
right now. ED 209. That's the kind of system that they
Ooh.
are looking at.
Ed 209. You remember RoboCop? You guys watch that?
I never
It's
watched
been
that.
a
Actually.
long time.
Yeah, the very beginning when the guy used a weapon in a threatening way and the robot didn't stop. Yeah. That might be a good cautionary tale for everybody to watch again. But I don't know. I don't want to drag this down too deep in that. I think we should find ways of helping people understand you need multiple points of data, not just a computer to say guilty or innocent.
Well, yeah, I mean, I got one more thing to say about that, I guess, is I feel like since the birth of computers, right? I mean, ever since we've had calculators for I don't even know how long, decades and decades.
Well, if you're talking abacus, thousands of years.
Sure.
Just saying.
I mean, even then, let's talk digital calculator though, right? Ever since the digital calculator came out, everyone's idea was, okay, if you put in, like, it does the math correct every single time, and that's been the attitude for the past, over half a century. And so now we're getting to the point where, everything is digital, and up until the last, I don't know, let's call it 10 years. Although I would argue it's probably less than that since people have really started realizing this. Is that's not the case anymore. Is we're no longer just doing mathematical calculations. I guess, okay. And some people are, well, we still are. The point is, though, we're making now inferences from the data given. We're no longer just giving the exact numbers out. So we still have this world where computers work all the time. They do what they're meant to do. If you tell it to do a thing, it's going to do it, and it'll work every single time, unless there are some cosmic rays from the universe who come down and flip a bit or whatever. That's a thing that happens. But other than that, they just work. And so I feel like we've all had this attitude of, okay, yeah, it works and it's right and it's never wrong. 2 + 2, it spits out 4, answers 4. But then we get into this thing where now we're letting the computers running these algorithms that are doing inferences on data and it's making conclusions for us. And now we don't know exactly if that is right, but I think everyone is carrying along that same attitude towards technology, and that it's always right. And we saw that it wasn't until things really started going wrong that even large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini, now they always put the disclaimers at the bottom, but it didn't happen until, like, I don't know, almost a year later. It was like, oh, by the way, this may not be right. Like, it could be making stuff up. And
I might have hallucinated that, but take it for what you want.
Right,
but it
I feel
sounds really good.
Yeah, and I feel like all of these disclaimers are late to the ball game. And like take Flock, for instance, right? And I don't even know if they've released a disclaimer. They might be a bad example, but I mean, they released a system and they advertise it as like, yes, it's gonna track down these cars, it's gonna tag them, and it's always right. Like, that's how they always start off the advertising, and everyone buys it. And I'm sure they have a disclaimer now. I don't know if they started off with a disclaimer. Who knows?
They did.
If it was.
They did. Any mistakes are the mistakes of the arresting officer, not the system.
Yeah. So Yeah, anyway, I think that's where it comes from, and I don't know what it's going to take to break that down in society and make them realize that um unless you really understand it, don't just take it at face value.
It's true. I mean, it's if we let justice without mercy take hold 100%, we'll realize Stalin's thing of show me the man and I'll show you the crime.
Mhm.
We can't all be felons. We can't all be, convicts of misdemeanors. We can't all be guilty. If we are, the laws are written wrong, but I don't know. Here's a thought for you. If these camera systems are going to make the decisions and the actions are just trusted blindly, should AI take over the job of the judicial system too?
No.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what they're
we want to
making it
throw
sound like, right?
our case in front of a human and say, no, seriously, judge, here's the truth, and let a human decide yes or no.
I still
The
stand
fate of
by
man
the
should not be
idea
judged
that
by computers.
the idea that it comes down to, and I'd love to know actually how old this is, but garbage in, garbage out.
Mhm.
I've been taught that ever since the very first computer class I took in elementary school. Garbage in, garbage out. You're only going to get as good of a result as the information that you put into it.
Well, and if it's got 99.7% accuracy, or this person is 97 whatever percent the same person, that means in America, where there's almost 400 million people, there's thousands of doppelgangers that could possibly be this person too. So I don't know. It's infuriating to hear that people are giving up their thinking to machines when they're holding people's lives in their hands. It's unfortunate, very unfortunate. But let's shift away from this dark side of things. Let's go to another dark side of thing. Mozilla and Anthropic have partnered up. So Mozilla makes Firefox. Firefox is awesome. Firefox has bugs. People would say, hey, I was using Firefox and it crashed on me, gave me this code. The team at Firefox, Mozilla, they would take that, look at it and say, okay, I don't know what you were doing. I don't know the context. I don't have any clues how to reproduce this. And so the problem would just go in the dustbin because they don't know what to do. Anthropic's Claude goes through and gives an incomplete, this is how I did it, this is how you reproduce it, this is the results, and just gives all the details. So now the team fixing it can cause it again, figure out the root cause, fix the root cause, throw it back, and make it go away. I think
So
this is the proper use of AI.
so where is Claude running, I guess? Is it running on, say, my machine, and then
Yeah.
something happens? Okay, I don't know if I like
No,
that
no,
though.
no, no. You get the AI agent, look at the code,
Okay.
and it runs. Or you get the agentic version of the system to watch what's going on and fiddle with the buttons and push things around. So it actually is test driving it and pushing buttons on the screen.
Okay, so
Um,
it's not gathering any additional data from the user. It's simply just taking what data that they already have and processing it. And
It's imitating a user. It's
gotcha.
taking place of the user.
I think I saw something on this last week.
Mhm.
There's a known vulnerability database for certain versions of software, and they've been using that as a testing ground for various large language models to help troubleshoot. And the Claude one got up to 66% of the assessed vulnerabilities were ones that were actually present in that version of the software. And compared to what, 4 years ago when they started doing this, it was like 0.5%, and the rest was just gibberish or stuff that was not an actual vulnerability.
It's getting better. Claude is actually one of the better coding systems right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's exciting to hear because I can't tell you how many times. Well, I mean, I've stopped doing it because they're hopeless. You know, your system crashes and says, "Oh, want to send this back to the developer?" I'm like, "What?" So they can just throw it away? Like, they're not going to do anything with it. You know.
Yeah, there was a. Yeah, okay. So kind of a side tangent here. We're good at those. There was a developer at Microsoft who said, "I wonder if there's any 0 days out there, any bots that we can detect through system crashes." And so they went and asked their database of crash system reports. Are there any crashes that are unexplained through any known software in your system? Meaning, is there any software running out there that crashed? And they actually found one. They found a botnet because it had crashed and created an error code and an info dump. And so they went back and they found one of the largest botnets in Microsoft just through the error handle. Anyways, fun story.
No,
That's
that's
the creativity that we lose when we give it up to AI.
what do you mean?
Would an AI ever ask the question, let's
Oh, I see
examine the
what you're
crash
saying.
dumps for programs that don't exist in our database? Maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know.
I think you'd have to tell it to.
You'd have to tell it to. You guys are quiet. I feel like I'm doing a big monologue.
A better way to put it is that the AIs can only think inside of a box because everything outside the box doesn't exist to them.
It will read what you type.
Even if you don't want it to.
On. All right, fine. Let's switch over to something else a little more exciting. DLSS 5. Yeah. That rolled off the tongue like there's too much blood in my caffeine stream, guys. It's not good.
It's congealed, we know.
It's congealed. It's gone like Jello in my veins.
So DLSS 5 is a upcoming graphical change that is being put forth by NVidia. DLSS is a process meant to reduce the load on a GPU and to render things a little bit better. What is the actual terminology that they use?
So you render a low resolution picture and it creates a higher resolution picture with more depth of field or more definition that's separate from the actual render of the picture. It's kind of a cool tech.
Yeah. And it's supposed to do it with a lower refresh rate. That's what I was trying to find. DLSS 5 was revealed earlier this week, and it is using a technology that it feels like it's a post-process rendering, but it's not. A lot of people have compared the images that it generates to generative AI, and looking at it, it's very easy to tell that when you look at it, yes, it does look that way.
That's a
But
nice frame of video that you've got in your first-person shooter. I'm gonna re-render it in AI and see if it's the same.
So NVIDIA is pushing this forward as a potential jump in how GPUs are going to be processing things in the future, at least NVIDIA-based GPUs. Because it's still in the early stages, it does take a bit more processing power to get the desired things. They were running their demo on a dual set of 5090s that, you know, I could buy one and if I saved up for 6 months, but yeah, that means getting rid of rent and all that happy stuff, you know.
How much does my electric bill go up?
I don't know. I don't know the electricity usage on a 5090. The
Only
assurance
600
is
watts, unless you do things.
Well, I can cancel my heat then, right?
Oh, did you guys hear about the water heater that runs off Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I saw the
Yeah,
3D printer that does that.
Yeah,
heats
they-
its bed using a crypto mining system.
There's a company that makes hot water heaters that has a Bitcoin miner in it that heats up the water.
Nice.
I mean, I wonder how efficient that is. I mean, I feel like you'd have to have a pretty hefty setup to create that much heat to be able to properly heat some water for a house, you know.
Well, I mean, your typical tank is 40,000 BTUs, so it's not that much.
If it can do it, I am all for it. I love the
And you
idea.
get paid Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know. I love the idea of using the heat from PCs. I've always stared at my PC and, you know, I just say, yeah, in the winter it's an inefficient and expensive heater, space heater. So I'm all for using the heat that we generate all the time from these things to actually do something.
makes you
Could
wonder
you
why
imagine? I mean,
they haven't
Go ahead.
developed a technology that can harness the excess heat that we've been putting out.
So imagine how much money, how much energy we use to heat things up when it's cold and cool things down when it's hot. It's a lot of energy. We just need
Yeah,
heat
it
pipes
is.
that are on a global scale, move the heat from one side to the other.
So on this DLSS 5, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
any ideas like on a timeline of when this is going to get down into the consumer? Maybe not even the consumer. Maybe it's more going to be just industry use or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I kind of worry about if the results are really good, then it's going to create more deep fakes. That's what I'm worried about.
I think it would depend on the program that is using it, but I'm sure that there are people that would develop something to use it for that purpose.
Figure less than a year.
Yeah,
This will be in people's hands.
Well, I feel like, you know, we should define it maybe a little bit more clearly. Because I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but what it's doing is it's taking a lower resolution video and then it's upscaling it using a neural network to basically guess what should go where, how the shadows should look, to give you a crisper image. So like
It's doing
what I've
more than that
been
now. That was
Say
the
that again?
original intent. It's doing more than that now.
Well,
That's-
I mean, yeah, it's doing more than that in that it's interpreting the image to figure out, you know, reflections and light space and all of that. But I wouldn't put it on the same class of generative AI at all.
Artie?
It doesn't qualify as generative AI. It is
More of a
augmenting AI.
transformer.
Yeah. It
It side
augments.
shifts. So if you're not wearing a birthday party hat, you can start wearing a birthday party hat.
That would be generative. This is
Not if the image is
taking.
already in there somewhere.
If the image is already in the what is being looked at, then yes, it can transfer and move stuff around. But the way the technology is set to work is each pixel, each area gets looked at, and okay, how do we make this look more realistic? And I'm looking at a few examples, and I can see why people are not happy with it, because it gets rid of a lot of the character that you would have in the rendered people that was present in the game before.
Like smoothing it out or something?
Smoothing it out, or like if somebody's got pronounced eyes, it makes them more normal sized.
I get it.
Let's
The
run Chucky through
synopsis that I'm reading here that I just pulled up just for a quick definition is that it's supposed to replace or put in missing details. Like, first of all, yes, we're allowing the initial render to come out as a lower resolution. So going at a lower resolution is going to save time and compute cycles on a GPU because it doesn't have to render as many pixels. And then what this does is it upscales it, as you said, but it also fills in missing details, and it's trained on existing images, apparently from the film industry and other places, maybe other games, things like that, to basically predict and assume like what's supposed, like if I'm rendering here's a pixel pattern, then there really should be this pixel pattern after it or something. I don't know, something along those lines. But to share the load of rendering a higher quality image. But coming from a graphic design background, I can understand that if there's disappointment because we would call it flattening. Like, you'd have an image, and if you had really good depth to the image, it means you had sharp details, you had correct details, and then there were some filters and some processes that you would use to, like, let's say that you had like a dust and scratches filter in Photoshop or something, because you scanned in a film negative or a photographic print, but it's really old, it's been scratched up, it's got dust on it, it wasn't cleaned off before it was scanned, whatever. You can use an initial filter to say, all right, we want all the dust and scratches to be eliminated. And Photoshop applies some kind of an algorithm to kind of guess based on the pixels that are around it to say, oh, well, right here where there's this piece of dust, it should look more like this, and to match the pixels around it. But yes, if you're looking at somebody's face or something where you kind of need that higher level of detail, you know, the hairs on your eyebrows, the, you know, texture of a fabric or whatever, it can eliminate those accidentally unless you can set the settings right. But more often than not, you can't adjust for everything that's on the picture. So you're going to compromise by getting rid of some detail. So it might still have a ways to go before it really wows anybody.
I'm looking at, you know, some of the community's comments on DLSS 5, and I feel like I was making jokes like, you know, they show some pixelated image like what's meant to be a pixelated image, and then, you know, they Photoshop
four pixels.
right.
4
It's like kind of like that, and
pixels.
they're like, oh look, DLSS, and then it's just like an image of somebody or an AI generated image. And so I feel like the community's reaction is valid in a way. It's like, oh, they're worried that it's taking content that the creators have created in maybe a very specific way. Maybe they want it to look like that, and then DLSS comes in and changes that. They're changing the way it looks by guessing what they want it to look, but that's all based off of like the same thing. It's all based off of like I think Mike was saying they were using like film or stuff like that, which is totally different maybe from what the original.
I want the dust and scratches. That's part of the effect.
Right. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm looking out of all of it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Then just don't use it. Don't use it in that situation. That's fine. But in other situations where developers maybe are wanting to create, they want their game to look more realistic, but they don't want to spend some, who knows how many hours it takes to create. Like, we all know, those who play games, like faces and people are very hard to create because of the way that the light interacts with somebody's face, the tiny little changes in the shape of your face because of the muscles. Like, it's just impossible to code. So if your purpose is to get photorealistic faces, but you don't want to have to spend all that time, creating that in your game, then why not just let DLSS do it? And beyond that, I feel like what people aren't talking about, but what I think is a huge improvement, is not looking at people, but looking at scenes. Actually, the things that DLSS 5 has been doing to scenes, I think, is actually a huge improvement. And it does make things look very photorealistic, and it does fix a lot of the shadow issues you would see, or places being too dark or too light. And so I think people are really hyper focusing in on, okay, it's changing the original look and feel of this video game I really liked because it had this original look and feel. And what I would say to them is, like, turn it off. Then, don't use it.
How many bits of AI and the systems we're using are solutions without a problem? This really wasn't a problem, and they're fixing it. Like, okay.
I don't know. From what I'm reading, it sounds like it's just an effort to provide something efficient, to try to increase some kind of an efficiency rather than really solve a problem. The only problem being that, it's inefficient to try to render this at a high resolution with all the settings that we want. Therefore, we're going to set the settings, render it at a lower resolution, and then have some post processor fix it. And we'll fix it in post,
Yeah, I guess, okay, from that perspective, when you think of it like that, then I think it is creating a problem, right? If its original task is to be efficient, then it's failing at that because it's removing what the original content was and replacing it with,
which right now I don't see as being efficient, because didn't somebody say 2 GPUs?
2 5090 GPUs were required for their test demonstration.
That was a step in the wrong direction of being efficient. Like,
give it time. They'll get it down to the size of a single room.
And
that'll heat my whole house, right?
The thing to also keep in mind is that the software, the processing is going to be customizable by the game developers as well. Bethesda, Capcom, and one other have already stated that they plan on using this technology in upcoming games.
Could be fun.
So to me, it sounds like they made a feature for the graphics cards, and it's up to the game developers if they want to use it or not. And I don't know. I guess I don't fully get why the huge backlash from the community. If it's not being completely forced on you, then what's your problem with it?
Is the community just reacting because of what the requirements are to get it to work in the first place versus what the output is? It's like, wait, I invested all this into this technology and this is all I get out of it? Is that more of maybe what the reaction is?
From what I've seen, it's more of a a post edit of the creative work.
Mm.
You're modifying somebody's product to be a completely new product. And that's where artists, the whole discussion. I don't know if you saw this year, Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con banned all AI art. You can't do AI anything. And the fans rejoiced.
Well, that's good.
So I see both sides. Like,
A
make
lot
it
of the
look
fans
better. Go ahead.
a lot of the fans that were looking at the games see it as AI taking over something that they love, because it really resembles a lot of the AI produced work that's out there.
Well, let's see what Microsoft has in store for us. I mentioned this in the pre-show, guys. Microsoft just announced their successor to the Xbox, or we don't know the official name yet, but it's the Helix. We'll have to see what marketing does with it between now and actual delivery date, but it's the latest version of their Xbox gaming platform.
So I mean, we're just going in circles now.
Pretty much.
Super cool.
More of a spiral.
Nice.
More of a spiral. Which, Helix.
Up or down. The jury's still out on
both?
that one, right? Yeah.
So here's the cool part. They've said that it's going to be cross-compatible with PC games as well as Xbox games.
Wasn't that already a feature, though, of the Xbox to some degree? I thought...
Yes, because hackers poured their games into it and it worked.
Oh.
So there is some validity to what Mike is asking about. The Xbox 360 was supposed to be backwards compatible, but just like the PlayStation 3 was supposed to be backwards compatible, the developers realized that in order to do that, it kind of melted systems because it was trying to run an emulator of the previous system, and it did not have the hardware to run the emulator.
Oh, that works great.
So, I mean, it sounds like this is a good thing, like a win. Yay, thank you, Microsoft.
I'm just curious if the Xbox games are going to be compatible on the PC now, and we could play that on the PC.
There are services that Microsoft offers that allows certain games from the Xbox collection to be played on the PC.
Yeah, but this is the whole library. Like, anything that could play on Helix should play on the PC, right? Just saying.
I fully agree with you. The games, I mean, the PlayStation 5 and the latest Xbox, I don't know what their numbering catalog is now. They are pretty much just single-purpose computers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can increment the number of games they've got by one. One came back. That's right. Fortnite. It's back. Artie, you had that one, right?
Yes, I wasn't expecting such a out of nowhere. I thought we were still talking about the Xbox.
Yeah. Number of games. We're going up by one. Tell us about this one.
Well, it's not for the Xbox. It's for the Android store.
Give it time.
I mean, it's already on the Xbox. But back in 2020, I think it was, there was a lawsuit after Google kicked Fortnite out of their app store for circumventing you got to give Google their fee for all transactions that take place within the game if it opens or was downloaded from the store. And
they call it protection money.
It's the 30% overhead.
Where have I heard that before?
So with the game returning, it was after a prolonged legal battle and Epic Games finally coming out on top, and Google being told, you got to let them back because the practice was not appropriate for this instance. And I believe it also happened with the the Mac store as well. I don't know. I don't play the game.
Yeah. Or the App Store.
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, I feel like it sounds like Google kind of bit themselves in the butt because they, we talked about this last week. They're trying to stop all this side loading and then force everyone through their Play Store, and then they say, no, we're not a monopoly, but you still have to pay us all this money if you want to be on the Android. So
Action money.
yeah, it sounds like they kind of sealed the deal once they released that news and are starting to lock back down their devices, by forcing everyone to go through the Play Store.
Well, and it makes sense that you want to maintain control of the cash flow that's in your system, because if there's a lawsuit in the future because video games are doing something wrong, we'll talk Steam at some point, I'm sure. If you're doing something wrong, the distribution channels also get named in the lawsuit. So if you lock it down, you maintain control, you have to do it this way, great. I still think 30% is way too steep a cut.
Doesn't the Section 230 apply to services that offer downloads like app stores and like Steam, where
Should.
Yeah. So even if they tried to bring a lawsuit, then Section 230 would technically cover them.
New York has a lawsuit against Valve right now for allowing gambling using some of their, and I'm not read up on this, but one of their games allows you to trade stuff outside the game, and you can gamble using these goods. And anyway,
third-party websites allow for that.
That's one that always kind of got me, like, you want to talk about retro gaming, because it's 20 years now since, isn't it been about 20 years since Second Life came out?
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it's been that long. Oh my gosh. I remember when I was first just looking at Second Life, because everybody was talking it and hyping it up and everything, and I got into it just a little bit just to see what it was and see what could be done in it. And the first thing I noticed was that there's a lot of people who've made these slot machines, and you get your in-game currency and you put it into the slot machine and for the chance to win more in-game currency, right? And of course, it's only going to pay out a certain number of odds, right? And so the people who have made these machines in-game reap the benefits of a bunch of people having a gambling addiction in the game, right? Well, then I was looking at the game, I realized that you could actually exchange, there was an exchange rate for in-game currency with real-world currency. And I was like, but if I can gamble, does that mean that's like gambling? That's actual gambling because it's got monetary value and everything. I never really researched it, how, if Second Life, if they ever had to address that, or if they got around that, or what happened with that.
They did have to address it. In 2007, they announced a ban of gambling in the game due to the FTC, or due to federal and state regulations.
I bet.
But for those few brief, sweet years, they were able to go mob style on all of us players.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I wish we had more time. we're at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour. I'm not sure which. But if you're still with us, those of you who've been playing this whole time will notice that I did not introduce Artie at the beginning of the show. So let me introduce Artie, who is our flight director, running the things behind the scenes, popping out from behind the screen when he chats. Say a few words.
A few words.
Words of wisdom. Until next time, I'm John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
And I am a man of few words.
Sad but true. Have a good night, everybody.